Hello everyone, and thanks so much for joining me on another episode of Code with Lily Code. On today's episode we're going to be discussing Visual Code extensions. So this is fantastic. Visual Code Studio is an online code editor where you can edit, interact with your code, write code, debug your code. So it's really useful if you want to get writing code, and then these extensions are all different things you can add in to your current Visual Studio Code editor in order to get it to be a personalized experience for you. So some different packages you might have is perhaps a package that assists you with the specific language or framework that you're coding in, so it'll give you suggestions and auto-complete things for you. Or you might get a linting extension, which what this would do is check your code, check the format of your code, run tests on your code so your code is in a good position for committing and pushing. You can also get formatters like Prettier. So we're going to go through these today, and I'll show you how to access all these different things I've been speaking of, some different extensions that I recommend personally, and how you can add them to your Visual Studio Code in order to make your programming a better experience for yourself. So keep watching and let's get started. So here we can see, if we go to code.visualstudio.com, on the Visual Studio Code website we can see they have an extension marketplace where we can just read about the extensions and it explains how to install them and stuff, but I'm going to talk you through that today. So if we come to our Visual Studio Code, in the toolbar we can see the squares icon, the very last icon, and it's called Extensions if you hover over it. If we just click into this, you can see popular extensions that they're recommending here. And if you click on any of these, it'll give you an explanation, it'll tell you how to install it, and you can just click install to go ahead and install any of these extensions that might be useful to you. So that's one way to do it. Now I'll show you from the browser the extensions that I'd recommend. So let's get to it. Just to explain that on the website, if we come back here, the website, you can search the extensions by different categories. So perhaps if you want data science extensions or linters, or for testing, or perhaps by programming language, you can have a look for a specific category and see what suits you. And this is currently sorted by the order of install. So from the website I've picked out my most top rated and recommended extension. So let's get into it. The first extension I would recommend you get is bracket pair Colorizer. We can see it here on the marketplace. This is a fantastic extension. So what it does is it matches the color of your brackets in your editor, so you can easily see which brackets correspond to which block of code. So it makes it really easy to keep an eye on which blocks of code are doing what, where your scopes are. So it's very helpful. So I'd recommend this. It just makes it easier than all of your brackets being in the same color, and you can easily differentiate blocks of code. So that's the first one I'd recommend, brackets pair Colorizer. If you want to install it, you can just click this install link and it can open it in Visual Studio Code for you. So you can do it through the website, or you can also just search for brackets pair Colorizer on your Visual Studio Code itself. But see, this will bring you here and then you just click install. So we'll move on to the other ones. I would also highly recommend Indent Rainbow. It is brilliant. So what Indent Rainbow does is, for every block of code that's indented where it's related, it will indent it and highlight the indent in a certain color. So again, with brackets pair Colorizer, this just makes it easy to differentiate between different blocks of code and where your code is ending and starting for a particular block. So highly recommend Indent Rainbow as well. The next extension I would highly recommend is CSS Peak. What this allows you to do is, if you hover over a class name, it will open up a window for you showing you the inside of that class in your corresponding CSS file. So here we can see we hovered over the class name comments, and if we click on that, it will bring us through to the CSS file to show us the corresponding CSS, and you can just hover over it and it'll show it to you, or you can click through to that exact place in the file. So again, very helpful. I recommend CSS Peak to you all. Now we have my next recommendation, auto rename tag. I highly recommend this extension because it just makes it easier to follow your code. So sometimes when you have really big blocks of code, which the previous extensions are going to help with, this particular extension will make the renaming of your tags much easier. So as you can see here in the video, when you want to change a tag name, so perhaps you want to make a H1 into a H2, perhaps you've put a higher level heading above your previous H1 tag, so you want to change it to a H2. So you don't have to get each of those tags and change them individually. This particular extension will do it for you at the same time, and it can also be great if you have longer pieces of code, perhaps a section, and you want to change the name. This will also auto rename the tab for you, so very useful extension. Get your hands on that one. My next recommendation is Prettier. Prettier is a code formatter. To be honest, I'm not fully keen on some of the defaults. It makes the code very long, but it's a very widely used formatter, and a lot of people use and recommend Prettier. So you can configure Prettier to format your file on save, which is really useful. And it's a very popular formatter, so I recommend Prettier also. Next we have pathintellisense. This is another great extension. What pathintellisense does is when you're adding in a new link and you want to link in an asset or something from a separate folder, this will fill in the link for you. So as you can see here, we've created a link, and once we go to type in the href, it auto suggests the rest of the path for us. So this one is really helpful as well. Then we have JavaScript ES code snippets. This is really useful once you get a bit used to JavaScript and you know what it is that you're typing, or even just from the beginning. There's some really great shortcuts that you can use in this particular extension that just make your typing a bit quicker for you. So here you go. If you want to type the line import something from a place at the top of your file, you would usually have your imports. You can just type imp and tab, and this will be typed out for you, so it saves you a good deal of time when you get used to these. So you can have a look through this, and there's lots of things that you can use that are commonly used. So constructor, you're always going to have your constructor and different items, so you can have a look through this, and it's very useful when you get adept at using the shortcuts to just cut down on that time typing. So another great extension. And then also, just to make note of one more thing, there's also such thing as extension packs. So you can have many extensions in one pack. So here's an example for Java. So you can search for your corresponding language that you're using or learning, and this will install many different recommended extension packs for you. So have a look at those as well. Okay, so just to give you a little example of some of these and how they look. If we come to our Visual Studio Code, here we can see Indent Rainbow at work, and also brackets pair colorizer. So the bracket pairs are the same color, so it's very helpful. So there you go. I hope this was useful, and use some of the extensions yourself, see how you get on. So I hope you enjoyed these recommendations today. Stay tuned for my video where I will walk you through how to install Visual Studio Code, get set up for an Angular project, so install Node, get an Angular project set up, and commit and create a GitHub account and commit to GitHub. So stay tuned for that if you'd like that. That's coming out very soon, and thanks so much for joining me and watching me. Have a fabulous day. It's been lovely as always. Thank you.